Good afternoon. Let me begin by expressing my deepest sympathy and condolences to the family of 3 victims of the attempted robbery and homicide that occurred at 3084 Yale Avenue, particularly Bartolomeo Perez Hernandez, and all that have been affected by this tragic incident. I was deeply concerned when I was alerted that Mr. Perez Hernandez was discovered inside a van that was towed to our vehicle storage lot. I immediately launched an administrative investigation into the handling of the scene and review of policy and procedure. And a visual inventory was conducted of every vehicle at the vehicle storage lot. The Memphis Police Department's administrative investigation into potential violations of departmental policies and procedures in connection with the investigation of an attempted robbery and homicide that occurred at 3084 Yale Avenue has concluded. My officers made mistakes. We made mistakes. And we are working to ensure that an incident like this does not happen again. On December 18, 2017, officers responded to a shooting call at Marine Manor Apartments located at 3084 Yale Avenue. Officers located 2 males who were victims of an attempted robbery and aggravated assault. Victim number 1 advised that he and victim number 2 were inside of his work van when 3 suspects attempted to rob them. Victim number 1 was shot. Victim number 1 received first aid from a civilian and a scene officer prior to being transported to Regional 1 in critical condition. Victim number 2 was not injured. A scene officer did look inside the van, but he did not locate any additional victims. At the conclusion of the on-scene investigation, the van was towed to the vehicle storage lot. On February 5, 2018, the van was being released to the owner when the 3rd victim, Bartolomeo Perez Hernandez, was found behind the front seats. An autopsy performed determined that Mr. Perez died of a single gunshot wound to his torso. On February 9th, and with the help of the public, investigators were able to identify 2 of the suspects in this homicide investigation. Mardracus West and Earl Brown were both arrested. Mardracus West was charged with first-degree murder and perpetration of attempted especially aggravated robbery, criminal attempt to wit first-degree murder, employing a firearm during the commission to commit a dangerous felony, and criminal attempt to wit especially aggravated robbery, 2 counts. Earl Brown was charged with first-degree murder and perpetration of attempted especially aggravated robbery, criminal attempt to wit first-degree murder, criminal attempt to wit especially aggravated robbery, 2 counts. Both are still in custody. After a lengthy investigation into potential policy violations, several officers and a vehicle storage service representative have been held accountable for their actions. A total of 10 police department employees were charged departmentally. The charges were sustained and discipline was handed down to 9 of those employees. The discipline included written reprimands, suspensions without pay, a demotion, a termination, and remedial training. The names and charges will be shared by our PIO at the conclusion of this briefing. So what have we done? There have been policy updates and improvements to the process at the vehicle storage lot. I ordered an inventory of every vehicle be conducted at the storage facility. As a result, 1,700 vehicles were visually inventoried. In addition, a police K-9 certified in recovering human remains also checked each vehicle. The policy and procedures updates include the following. Vehicle storage service representative supervisor will conduct a visual follow-up inventory of every vehicle prior to it being escorted to the lot. The Memphis Police Department towing form has been updated to include additional information. All bureau holds have been increased from 5 or 10 days to a standard 15 days. Remedial crime scene training has been implemented along with crime scene training for every single police officer at our annual in-service training. Lastly, we're in the final stages of conducting roll call training through an alert video that will be viewed by all Memphis police officers and our vehicle storage lot employees. These changes will ensure that every vehicle is thoroughly checked and we never let an incident like this happen again. In closing, I want to remind you that due to this being an ongoing homicide investigation with pending prosecution, I'm unable to go into further details concerning this case. I will say the hard work of the public who helped us and the hard work of our investigators led to 2 arrests, but we still need the help of the public. There is a 3rd suspect who is still at large, and we need to bring him to justice. I urge anyone with information relative to the murder of Mr. Perez Hernandez to call Crime Stoppers at 901-528-CASH. We are still looking for the 3rd suspect. He was described as an African-American male in his teens to early 20s, 5'7" in height, slim build with a medium complexion, low haircut with facial acne, who was with the 2 individuals charged. Now I will take a few questions.
Was there any body camera footage, or did they have body cameras on during this incident in December 2017 when this happened?
Yes.
Are you going to release it, or can you release it?
So that body-worn camera footage is still part of the criminal investigation, so at this time we'll not be able to release it.
Those policy changes you discussed, when did those go into effect? And also, I believe you said an officer did look inside the van when it went to that impound lot. So how did that inspection the officer did, how does that differ from the new visual inspections that we were required to do?
Yeah. So you asked a 2-part question. After we discovered the victim, we immediately start revising policy. We reviewed everything that we do in relationship to crime scenes and how we handle a vehicle that could be used as evidence. Yes, an officer looked, but we did not locate the victim. So we want to do a more thorough job, and that is part of the going deeper into it and making sure that, our number 1 responsibility is to locate victims. In this case, we didn't do it.
Hispanics that don't have the legal documents to remain in the United States may feel afraid to report crimes. What is the department doing to close the gap between the Hispanic community, the communication gap between the Hispanic community and the police?
So that's a great question. Many of you in the Hispanic media I've met before. You know, I've tried to make myself available to bridge that gap. You know, I'm very concerned about the Hispanic victims of crime having a fear to report to the police. So when I first started the job, I looked at our numbers. I want to make sure that we hire more Hispanic officers and that we hire more bilingual officers, and that's something that I need help with, because I think today we have roughly 50 officers. We've done a little better in hiring Hispanic officers, but we don't represent our community, and I want our department to look like the community that we serve. And if you could do anything, and other members of the community can do anything to help us in our recruiting efforts, we are, because I think that is the number one way to help build trust, is to have a department that represents and looks like your community.
Next question.
As the director of the Memphis Police Department, do you ultimately feel responsible for this mistake, you know, is under your time here with the department?
That's a great question. This was a major mistake, and the buck stops with me. Anything my officers do well or they don't do well, I'm responsible for it, and I'm taking full responsibility for this, and I'm doing everything I can. These commanders in front of you, these officers, we're doing everything we can to ensure that does not happen again.
As the crime has been raising and different kind of crime that has been involving not only the Latino but all the community members, is there any kind of changes in the training that you have in the police?
Yeah, when you say crime is crazy, I have to look at the crime statistics. And when I looked at the statistics today, actually we're trending down. Violent crime is down. Overall crime is down. Property crime is down. Police recruitment is up. So I think that and I'll openly say that, you know, we need, you know, 2,400 to 2,600 police officers. So again, we're going to continue to do all we can to reduce crime. I think what's important is that we cannot do this without the citizens helping us. And what I need more of is citizens like the one that called in a tip to help us locate these young men. We need more citizens to help us. We'll continue to work with our community to do better. But, you know, Memphis is a challenging city. And I think that the more we work together, media, community, law enforcement, that we'll make Memphis a safer place.
When you said, you know, the crime has reduced on the, let's talk about the Latin community.
Mhm.
Do you think it's because they're afraid to report anymore, or because, you know, it's only,
So we know there are some challenges with some members of the Latino community reporting crime. That's why I got some great officers like the two standing before you that are out in the community, that are out in the Latino media, that are helping me. And I ask them questions, and I tell them, I'm the director, but I don't know it all. Tell me what you think. Tell me what we can do to help bridge this gap. So we're going to continue. I'm going to continue to listen to them. I'm going to continue to listen to you. I'm going to continue to listen to the members in the community that have came forward. You know, there's one member of the community that looked at our policy and said, Mike, your policy is out of date. And we sat down at this table and we rewrote the policy, and we'll continue to do that. So great question.
Your department is going to give any kind of compensation to Guadalupe's family, his wife?
Yeah, great question. So there is victims' compensation with the Shelby County District Attorney General's office that they can apply for. And as you're aware, there's an ongoing civil lawsuit that's going on. And so I'll let the judge and all the lawyers work that out. But what I will say is I think about we just lost an officer, and we know what it's like to lose. And I think about that the family has to be suffering, losing a father, and it's a tough situation. And that's why we are going to do everything we can do to hold these men that have been charged, that have been arrested, accountable. I want to find that third individual out there, because they are responsible for the death of Mr. Perez Hernandez. Yes, we did not find Mr. Perez Hernandez in a timely manner, and we're responsible for that, but we are not responsible for the crime that occurred that led to his death. Yes, ma'am.
I actually have two questions. One, picking up off of your last comment, do you think that it's a possibility that this victim would have lived had he been found the night of the shooting? Is that a possibility at all?
So that's a great question, and I'm not skilled enough to answer that. I know that there was an autopsy performed. I'm going to let the doctors and the forensic pathologists make that determination. As I stated, I think that's on issue with the civil trial. But what I do know is that if Madracus West, Earl Brown, and this third suspect we're looking for had not attempted to rob those gentlemen, that he probably would be alive today.
And I did have one other question. You described some of the new policy changes. Could you describe a little bit what the policy was before? Was there a policy in place for how to handle this kind of situation, or are these just?
So we have a very big policy and procedure manual. It's probably that thick. So there are a lot of policies, and we'd be happy to share that with you and let you go through. But yes, so let me just say this, our number one responsibility, if we respond to a crime, is to locate victims. And in this situation, we do not do it in a timely manner, and that's not acceptable.
Two questions. Have you spoken with the family recently?
I have not personally spoken with the family. And, unfortunately, in this town, there are a lot of victims of crime, and unfortunately, I can't speak to all of them. I have kept them in my prayers, and, we will continue to try to locate this third individual. We'll work with the District Attorney General's office and the courts to hold these men accountable for that, and we're going to continue to work to improve this department.
And also, what do you say to people in the community who would say they have lost faith in the police department because of this incident?
So I tell them that, I've always said that if I've got almost 2,100 men and women, another 600-something odd civilian employees that come to work every day, and they put it all on the line. Those police officers, they risk their lives. They're doing it right now. And there are going to be times where things happen. We're going to identify those times. We're going to try to improve upon them, but I still have confidence in the work and the dedication of these heroes. They're heroes, and I'm proud of them. Yeah, but we always want to do a better job.
Last question, Brian.
Judge Rollins, some said, the attorney for the family said you all acted negligently. What do you think these disciplines for these 9 officers, employees, what message do you think that sends to the community about the seriousness you all took with this?
Well, I hope it lets the community know that I am going to hold the department and myself accountable for mishaps. I'm a cheer when we do things great. When we don't do things great, then we're going to talk about it. We're going to try to improve. But, we're accountable to the public. But again, I just have to echo that our officers, from what I've seen, they tried to do the right thing, but we missed the mark. And again, we'll continue to try to get better. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, guys. As promised, I have everything. Sir, did that go well? Everybody got